What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Duran, and we've got a good showdown on Sunday between my Indianapolis Colts, who host the #1 defense in the NFL, and the Cleveland Browns, who hoist the #1 offense in the NFL. Starting with the Browns, who are coming off an impressive 49-38 win over the Dallas Cowboys. They were led by their rushing attack, which combined for 307 yards between Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, and D'Ernest Johnson. The Browns' rushing attack has been the driving engine for the Browns' offense, and not so much of them trying to lean on their receivers and Odell and Jarvis Landry, who have been playing fine. Nothing too crazy out of either of them outside of the Dallas game. For Odell, neither of the two ever eclipsed 100 yards in a single game this year. They actually haven't had one receiver, including tight ends, to eclipse 100 yards in a game this year either. And I don't read too much into that because, as I said, this team is built around their running game. They're going to run the football. That's what they do. That's their identity. They're going to run behind their offensive line, who is actually playing like a top 3 offensive line this year. Key inactives for this Cleveland offense is going to be Nick Chubb, who's sidelined with an MCL injury. And although Nick Chubb is probably the best player on the Browns offense, I think we could say that at that point. Odell hasn't really had a hot couple of years there, but Nick Chubb is a top 5 back, and we could say he is their best player. I don't think their running game will miss him as much moving forward with Kareem Hunt, who is a talented player in his own respect, and he's been in that role as a bell cow before. And D'Ernest Johnson showed in that Dallas game. I think he had 90-something yards. He's capable behind this Browns offensive line. He can play. Guard Wyatt Teller has been the talk of the Browns offensive line. He's been flat out dominant. He's going to start the season. He's going to start this game as a player to keep your eye on as he battles DeForest Buckner and the Colts defensive line. Flipping over to the Browns defense, I'll keep it short and sweet. Myles Garrett has been playing out of his mind as he completely destroyed the Cowboys offensive line and left tackle future Hall of Famer Tyron Smith. Myles Garrett destroyed and wreaked havoc against the Dallas Cowboys. The Browns secondary, though, has been abysmal besides Denzel Ward, who's good. Not elite, but their secondary has been abysmal. Their safeties stink. Grady Williams will be coming back this week. Hopefully that helps, but the other corners, they stink, and the linebackers stink in coverage, and took Dallas 3 quarters to figure that out, and the safeties stink. This Browns defense, I'm not as confident in as I am their offense. Now let's talk about the Colts side, their offense. They'll be missing a huge piece in Anthony Costanzo, who's out with a rib injury. He's going to be replaced by 5th-year backup LaRaven Clark, who'll be lining up against star pass rusher Myles Garrett. Talk about a season debut. Now, LaRaven Clark isn't a bad player. Like most Colts fans will tell you, LaRaven Clark stinks. LaRaven Clark is not a good player. Because of the past, with LaRaven Clark has been put in positions where I don't think he's been put in the best position to succeed. He's been put in positions with a bad offensive line, bad team, bad coach. Well, he'll have to hold on and pray for dear life that he can play against some of the premier pass rushers with no help. And I don't think that's necessarily fair for a young player. LaRaven Clark is just inconsistent. He would not have made this team if he was not talented. LaRaven Clark would have not made this team if he was not talented. He's been in the league for 5 years. All 5 years has been with the Colts as a backup. He would have not been on this team if he wasn't talented. I'm telling you. For LaRaven Clark, it's really just about 2 things for me. It's consistency and technique. Clark, athletic, powerful tackle, but too many times he gets caught sliding too far back into his stance, and he has bad hand placement. Now, I don't know what LaRaven Clark looks now because we haven't seen him in 2 years in a regular season game. I think the last time we saw LaRaven Clark was in the Eagles game against Derek Barnett, where he got burnt for the game-winning sack. But we haven't really seen LaRaven Clark in 2 years. I suspect LaRaven Clark has gotten better in those 2 years, sitting behind the best offensive line in football, sitting behind Anthony Costanzo, sitting behind and Quentin Nelson, sitting behind these players that have taken their games leaps and bounds to the next level. So this is a huge opportunity for LaRaven Clark to prove that he is the future. He could potentially get more playing time if Anthony Costanzo is going to be out more time past his Browns game. Now, looking at the passing game, Rivers hasn't been great, and he hasn't really been a liability to me. They need to pick it up. Facing a Browns defense whose secondary is suspect outside of Denzel Ward, not even suspect, just straight bad. They got exposed by Dak Prescott in that second half. I'll say it, the Browns secondary got exposed, but we'll see how they'll look with Greedy Williams. Reich needs to adjust his play calling. The play calling for Frank Reich has been mediocre at best this year. They're 3-1, but it's not because of their offense, and it's not because of Frank Reich's play calling. His runs have been predictable. On second and long, everybody in the building, everybody at home, and I'll say this again, everybody knows that Frank Reich on 2nd and 10, 2nd and 8, 2nd and 13, 2nd and 7, 2nd and 6 is going to run a dive or a draw play. There is points in the game where defenders are leaning over on 2nd and 10 because they know what he's going to call. They are leaning over, defensive line are pointing to the gap. Hey, he's going to run a draw to the A gap with Nyheim Hines, and we're going to all run it to the same spot, and we're going to stop them, and they're going to lose 2 yards. It has to change. It has been predictable for the past season. These runs are not good, and Colts fans are blaming Jonathan Taylor. They're blaming this offensive line, and I'm going to tell you, Frank Reich has to change the play calling. It's predictable. You're not putting your players in the best position to succeed. So, again, Frank Reich has to be less predictable in his play calling if they want to go out here and have a good game on offense. Now let's talk about the defense. The Colts defense is going to be missing Darius Leonard. I don't think that's a huge loss, and I'm not really surprised that Darius Leonard was not going to play with a groin injury. Because Bobby Okereke behind Darius Leonard is just as good in my opinion. Bobby Okereke has been playing excellent this season. I think Bobby Okereke has been playing just as good as Darius Leonard this season. No, I know that people are not going to agree with me, but that's my hot take for today. The Colts front seven has been playing really good. They're led by defensive tackle DeForest Buckner, who continues to play out of his mind. And I'd like to give a huge shout out to PFF and Analytics Twitter, who told me that trading a first round pick for DeForest Buckner was a bad move. Yeah, I'll just leave that there. The Colts secondary has been playing great also. All of the Colts DBs have been playing really good, and I'm very surprised. This is the league of no names. You know, Xavier, Rhodes, TJ Carey, Rock Ya-Sin, Kenny Moore, those 4 players have been playing great. They've been playing great. Outside of that Jacksonville game, all 4 of those corners have been playing lights out. Let's move on to the other DBs in the secondary. With Julian Blackmon, he's having a rookie defensive player of the year. He's having a rookie defensive player of the year type season. He's playing great. He's playing better than Malik Hooker, and that's sad because Julian Blackmon looks faster and more physical in this defense than Malik Hooker ever did in his defense. He's never adjusted to this defense. We knew it wasn't a fit after the first year when he came back, and then after the next year after that, and then Malik Hooker continues to get hurt. It's just sad to see a player very talented coming out of Ohio State to just end up being a bust. He's a bust. I mean, at this point, he's a bust. We just have to call it what it is. He won't never suit up in a Colts uniform again. That's it. That's how the Malik Hooker story ends, with him getting hurt again. The key matchups for this game: Wyatt Teller and JC Treader versus DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart. Teller has been amazing this season. Teller's having a better season than Quentin Nelson. Teller looks like the best guard in football. And so has Buckner. He has had a great season too. He looks like the best defensive tackle in football. So I can't wait to see these guys go up against each other in a clash of titans. But also Grover Stewart has looked like one of the better one tackles in the league. Grover Stewart has had a good season, and no one talks about it because no one knows him. But Grover Stewart has had a good season. JC Treader is one of the 5 best centers in football. I can't wait to see this matchup. I can't wait. Second, I put Xavier Rhodes versus Odell Beckham Jr. Even though the Colts play a zone defense, I always want to see long, rangy players play against each other. Xavier Rhodes has had a really good year, and Odell Beckham is having a really good year. They're having like a redemption season, both of them. So to see them go up against each other, I can't wait to see those snaps. I think it's going to be a good matchup. It's going to be fun. Last but not least, Holly Cox versus the Brown defense. Holly Cox has looked like one of the 5 best tight ends in football. He has looked like One of the 3 best tight ends in football, actually. But he just does not get enough targets. He does not get enough targets. Last game, Holly Cox ended with 2 targets. That cannot happen. Frank Reich needs to reward his best players. And he's not doing that. And quite frankly, it's been disgusting. Holly Cox has been the best offensive player for the Colts since the season started. So why does he not get the targets? When you gave him 5 targets in the Minnesota game, he dominated. He had 111 receiving yards. I think he had 2 touchdowns and he had 5 catches. Why do you not reward the better players on your offense? Like that is just egregious that we have to sit at 2nd and 10 draw plays and see Trey Burton get 10 targets his first game back, and we have to settle and watch Holly Cox get 1 target for a game. They have to fix that. In this game, I am not confident about my pick. I am not confident picking the Colts. I'm going to pick the Colts, but I'm not really confident because I respect the Browns defense. They have Jarvis, they have Austin Hooper coming. They have Austin Hooper. They have the other tight end coming back. They have a top 3 offensive line playing like the best offensive line in football. If anything, playing like the best offensive line in football. But I also think that there's exploits in their team. I think that I can't overlook that the Browns played 3 teams, 2 games under 500, and those games were close. I can't overlook that they played Cincy close. I can't overlook that they played Washington close. I can't overlook that they gave Dallas. They played Dallas close and they was up like 400-1. And that game got close at the end. I can't overlook those things. Even for a team that doesn't have their wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, RB1, and left tackle, and they're not going to have their starting inside linebacker, I still think the Colts pull it off. I still think the Colts pull it off because I don't believe in the Browns secondary. It's awful. It's awful. And the Browns offense hasn't really shown me that they're going to throw the ball. They're going to run the ball, and that's just what their game plan is. And I don't think the Colts secondary is bad enough where you can just start playing it to trying to throw the ball around. I don't think that's the best way for the Browns to win. And then again, you're going up against running the ball into DeForest Buckner, or running the ball into Justin Houston, or running the ball into Grover Stewart, running the ball into Afarika Muhammad, running the ball into this wall. So I'm just going to trust the Colts defense more than I trust the Browns offense. I'm going to trust that Frank Reich can figure out the Browns defense more than Kevin Stefanski figuring out the Colts defense. I'm going to trust that more. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. My next video will be the weekly prediction video. Holla at your boy. Much love. As always, peace.